everyone, and very welcome to the Psychoanalysis and Politics seminar. And this is me presenting this time. And the title is Between Animal and Machine, Identifications and Revolts, Revolting Identifications. When holding up a mirror to ourselves to try to understand what kind of creatures we are, human beings can look towards machines as objects to identify with, or look towards animals. Arguably, says Descartes, machines have been the dominant objects of identification, as exemplified by conceiving of the body as a kind of machine, or of the brain as a computer. Another strand of imagination looks towards animals as beings we identify or disidentify with, are attracted to and repelled by, nurture, cherish, and abuse. Psychoanalytic thinking is more closely aligned with the latter strand in conceiving of human beings as beings with some needs and affects that are similar to those of animals, and in sympathising with these aspects of our nature. This paper constitutes an attempt to examine our ambivalence towards animals and towards the animals within us. Freud's theorizing emphasized the animal substrate of the inner world of human beings. He also saw animals as symbolic reservoirs of our projected images, such as the image of the father. Indeed, fantasies and preoccupations with animals are central to three of his famous cases. Those are the rat man, the wolf man, and little Hans. Referring to Darwin's finding, Freud noted, man is not a being different from animals or superior to them. He himself is of animal descent, being more closely related to some species and more distantly to others. The acquisitions he has subsequently made have not succeeded in effacing the evidences, both in his physical structure and in his mental dispositions, of his parity with them. In the course of the development of civilization, man acquired a dominating position over his fellow creatures in the animal kingdom. Not content with this supremacy, however, he began to place a gulf between his nature and theirs. He denied the possession of reason to them, and to himself he attributed an immortal soul and made claims to a divine descent which permitted him to break the bond of community between him and the animal kingdom. A child would transfer an emotion of fear, which he feels for his human father, onto a dog or a horse, without intending any derogation of his father by it. Not until he is grown up does he become so far estranged from animals as to use their names in vilification of human beings. That was Freud, 1917. So in stating this, Freud points towards a link between denigration of animals and dehumanization. In calling someone a dog, a bitch, or a pig, the intention is to denigrate a human other by comparing him or her or identifying the person with an animal. Our culture is split between animals we cherish and treat as part of our families and animals we mistreat most cruelly, depriving them of a life in farming factories under deplorable conditions. Prehistoric humans were fascinated with animals and reliant on them, dressed in their skins, wearing their horns and claws, and enacting their mannerisms. Some anthropologists have speculated that Paleolithic drawings represent the fantasies of humans who identified so intensely with animals that they actually believed that they could transform themselves spiritually from human to animal and back. However, anthropologists during the early 1900s believed that animal worship was indeed the earliest form of religion, expressed by hunting and gathering peoples around the world. In Totem and Taboo, Freud notes that the totem animals were sacred animals, that they were offered as sacrifices to the gods to whom they were sacred, that originally they were identical with the gods themselves, and that by means of the sacrifice the worshippers in some way laid stress upon their blood kinship with the animal and the god. So that's a statue of the Lion Man from the British Museum exhibition Ice Age Art, which I thought was a wonderful exhibition. When I was a debutante, I often went to the zoo. I went so often that I knew the animals better than I knew the girls of my own age. Indeed, it was in order to get away from people that I found myself at the zoo every day. The animal I got to know best was a young hyena. She knew me too. She was very intelligent. I taught her French, and she, in return, taught me her language. In this way, we passed many pleasant hours. Thus begins Leonora Carrington's short story, The Debutante. We learn at once that it's situated in an English upper-class environment due to the reference to being a debutante. The protagonist's mother is about to give a ball in her honor to introduce her into good society with a view to marriage within a select circle. The story is also set in a magical world where animals can talk and partake in advanced forms of interaction. The heroine is reluctant to attend the ball, to say the least, and she arranges with the hyena that she can go instead of her. She opens the cage, quickly letting her out. Back in her room, the hyena puts on her dress, practices walking upright in her high-heeled shoes, and covers her hairy hands with gloves. Though the difficulty of disguising the hyena face remains. She comes up with the idea of killing and eating the protagonist's maid, saving her face to wear it as a mask for the ball. All dressed up, admiring herself in Mary's face in front of the mirror, the hyena declares, "I have a feeling that I shall be a great success this evening." O'Heron decides to spend the evening in her room with a book, and the peace is broken when the mother enters, pale with rage. The story ends with the mother's statement. "We just sat down at the table," she said, "when that thing sitting in your place got up and shouted. So I smell a bit strong, what? Well, I don't eat cakes." Whereupon it tore off its face and ate it. And with one great bound, it disappeared through the window.